And we're back at the 8th DreamHack Summer Grand Prix in Sweden. Round 4 ahead of us, and this will be starting to get interesting. Right, Lorinda? Right, the cascade?
Starting to get very interesting indeed. Neil keeps complaining I'm standing too close to him as well, so we're trying to distance myself a little bit. We're getting a bit cozy. But yeah, I mean, round 4, this is where we get to the business end, where we can safely say people are definitely eliminated from the tournament. And now we can start to think about who's actually going to be moving on to the round of 16. Who are the players we're looking out for here? Yeah, the players who are 3-0, if they win this round to go to 4-0, they're going to start already having in the back of their minds, maybe I get through to the top 16. Lose it, go to 3-1. You're back in the melting pot. You've really got to have another good run. Yeah, and we had a lot of 3-0s from actually countrymen, right? Yeah, we got one of my guys, Paradox. Yeah, Paradox is doing really well. One of the English guys. I can't say the same about all of the English players. Green Sheep 0-3, Ness 0-3. We might have expected a little bit better from those guys, but the fact that Paradox has shown up and kind of doing it for Britain, that's always a good sign. Definitely. I mean, the UK scene, strong in Hearthstone, seen, right? But not heard most of the time. Not so much in other games, but in Hearthstone it's pretty decent, I would say. Yeah, we've got a few good players, and definitely the 0-3 guys will be disappointed, but I'd like to think they'll still play on for the experience like we touched on not only that, half an hour ago. But also for your points, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for my points. Yeah, for the stats. But if they don't like their lineup, then dropping out is the best thing to do because the percentage will just go. Yeah, that's true. So it depends how they feel about their lineup and how they feel about, you know, playing in a tournament that can no longer qualify. Some people like to carry on for the experience. Some like to go and explore the whole of DreamHack, which is going on down there. Well, it's quite a lot digital festival, right? Right. We also have like an open air festival, I guess. You can name that like that. I didn't actually see it yet, but I heard only good stuff about it. It's going to be a massive light show outside, not inside today, for the opening ceremony. I know we've opened, but the opening ceremony is halfway through the show, so that everybody gets to see it at midnight outside. It's gonna be great. True that. But now we are still playing Hearthstone, not enjoying anything else. But as we said, in the preparations are the biggest task for a tournament like this, right? It's not about the endurance during the game, during the tournament. It's not about like being the best player, but the preparation before you go into a last hero standing. The same for tournaments that right after expansion goes out, right? This is something that you need to be on point if you want to either advance to top 16 or not just full flop. Because if someone just took a really bad lineup to this tournament, they can just be punished to a 0-7, 0-9 even finish. It was something that Orange brought up actually on his Twitter. He was saying, sorry guys, I'm not going to be streaming because I really want to be focusing on choosing a lineup for last hero standing. It's very difficult. He's now 3-0, so clearly it paid off. That seems to have worked well for him, and I think we've mentioned it a few times today. We have a meta right at the moment where you really can plan out a whole lineup. It's not just take some good decks. There's plenty of good decks to choose from. Take the ones that synergize well together, and then make your tech choices within those decks based on the lineup you want to focus on. Yeah, that's a good thought. I mean, the tech choices have been interesting. I mean, we saw a lot from Stan Sifko in the first series. The fact he was throwing Mistress of Mixtures in a deck, for example. Something that he just tailored against aggro. It's certainly in tournaments like this, in Swiss format, when you get last hero standing, you can kind of experiment a little bit. You can be a little bit edgy. And it's certainly nice to see some of the biggest and best players still able to take that risk. We have seen Show with the Enchanted Ravens in his Druid, right? Something that we didn't see yet at all. When it comes like to conquest tournaments, when it comes to ladder as well, right? But in last hero standing, when you're actually able to aim at a specific strategy, those ravens will be important because they are such a big push against other aggro decks, right? So definitely good addition. But now we're gonna actually talk about the two players that we're gonna see in the next match, and that's Xixo and Johnnystone. Sure. Definitely gonna be an interesting one. I mean, Xixo will be very happy as it is at 3-0. As you said earlier, it's something that we should expect from a man of his caliber, but he's going up against Johnnystone, so it's going to be an interesting one for me. Yeah, both these guys. Xixo is probably the best tweaker, the best lineup builder in the world, in my opinion. I think he's the guy who will take the best decks. He'll change 2 or 3 cards. He's got such a clear vision of how lineups play out that I'm no surprise at all he's doing well here. I'm always going to say that anyway. I've always been a Xixo fanboy. Johnnystone is somebody who's putting a lot of time into streaming at the moment. He made a big push for the Wild tournament and missed out by like 3 places or something. He's just putting a lot of time into streaming. He's doing well in the Hearthstone Global Games with Austria. Just a guy who is really throwing himself into Hearthstone at the moment. So he's definitely not to be taken lightly. Probably a main name that a lot of people haven't heard of, but you should have.
It's Johnnystone. You'll have heard of him by the end of today.
Well, if he manages to win against Xixo, that would be a big, big actually statement. Because Xixo is, as you said, known for being one of the best players in the world, and I can sign under this every single day.
Yeah, we can see the bans there as well. Xixo actually choosing to take away the Mage from Johnnystone, and Johnnystone taking away the Druids. That leaves us Priest, Shaman, and Paladin for Johnny, and then Shaman, Mage, and Rogue for Xixo. So already we get an idea of how this matchup is going to play
Interesting lineups, right? We see we have Priest here. We have also Rogue. I'm just a big fan of Rogue, so I'm going to be mentioning this every single time when I see a Rogue class. But it's really cool to see those last year lineups, because they can be so different, so interesting to see, so interesting to cast as well, right? Because you can be guessing, like, what happened to this deck? Why is there this card right now? How does it affect the entire 30 cards, lineup for this deck? Because a single change can be so huge that it changes the synergy for the entire deck.
Yeah, and we saw that Moonfire earlier on, which meant for Sivka, it meant he could just go completely different on his lineup. He had to worry a lot less than he thought he was going to have to worry about aggro, as though he could build his lineup, just focus slightly against control without going too far.
Interestingly, sorry to cut you off, we haven't really seen many Hungry Crabs, certainly on stream this tournament. I know there's been mentions of them kind of circling around. As they do, the Hungry Crabs always turn up. But Xixo actually choosing not to bring Paladin. And a lot of players started to stop bringing Paladin when the Hungry Crab was becoming so big. But now we're at a point with Paladin where it's a control Paladin, and we only get like 2 Murlocs in there because of the Hydrologist. So, yeah.
That's a good point. But now we're going to jump into the game. So, not going to prolong it anymore. Let's see how Xixo and Johnnystone will sling those cards out. So, I'll leave you guys to the casters.
See you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Yep, Xixo versus Johnnystone is the game that we are going to be jumping into. Now, I've got the biggest Xixo fanboy next to me, so immediately I'm going to be rooting for Johnnystone.
Sounds about right to me. Why would I expect anything else from you, Dan? So that's us nice and neutral.
Yeah, at least we can go against each other and at least have an opinion here. But certainly something that we've got to talk about then is Xixo not bringing Paladin. I mean, Paladin seems to be one of the biggest classes that everyone seems to be bringing.
Right.
But is it just down to kind of how you play and your style of play?
It's not just a style. If he's found a strategy that he believes is going to work well and doesn't need the Paladin, then let's see what cohesive strategy he has got. So he has the Shaman, Mage, and Rogue. We have no idea what any of those are, except that Shaman already looking like it's probably Token Shaman.
Probably a Token Shaman, as has been the development of today. Constant Token Shamans, it's showed its sheer power because it can do very well against Jade Druid. And funnily enough, Jade Druid does turn up a lot in these control matchups.
It does. Johnny choosing not to bring Druid at all, which is interesting, though. So
I guess that's a bigger talking point.
Different handle on the meta to everybody else, perhaps. Obviously, when you bring your lineup, the first thing you've got to do is build the basic lineup. Then work out how many people you think is going to bring that basic lineup and how you should beat that. And then how many people are going to bring the second thing you just brought and how you beat that, and so on, until you get to the point where you think, okay, I'm one level above everybody, I stop and I bring this. And
that's why it's important sometimes to just throw a spanner in the works, and maybe that's what Johnny's done by bringing Priest. Now, Priest isn't as unpredictable as it once was. At least now we're in a position where we can kind of have an idea of what a Priest is going to be. It's likely going to be either Miracle Priest or Silence Priest. We've even seen some crazy Highlander Priest turn up as well as of late. I would love it if Johnnystone brings Highlander Priest. Don't think it's going to happen, but still a possibility.
And do you know why it's called Highlander Prix?
I do, thanks to you informing me with your wise knowledge of old films that were filmed back in 1964.
We're just going to clarify this. You've never seen Highlander.
I hadn't.
And on we go with the game.
On we go with the game, indeed. And it's a game where Xixo is already starting to gain a little bit of steam. Yes, Johnny does have the option of coining out Consecration, but I think True Silver is a better option because you don't want to allow that Mana Tide to just continue to draw cards, to be honest.
Yeah, and we can see if it could draw a Bloodlust, for instance, this game would be getting not out of sight completely, but very difficult already for Johnny. But as it is, he's got a decent enough way back with the Consecration. He also has Kodo. He has ways of controlling this. He has no Murlocs, though, so that Megasaur in his hand is looking a little bit sad right now. It's a sad Megasaur.
It is a sad Megasaur. At least Johnnystone has the follow-up of Consecration into using his face as well to clear this entire board, which I think is hard not to do. I think it's the obvious play here. You don't want to allow the Shaman to get out of control. You don't want to allow them to be in a position where that Bloodlust can do a severe amount of damage. Because it's not always a situation where, okay, am I out of range of lethal? Because if that Bloodlust can even just put 20 damage into you, that might be already good night, Irene.
Yeah, you don't have to do it to win. You have to do the most you think it can do. You're looking very pleased with yourself.
I thought you were going to comment on what I said, but it's okay. Yep, the fact he's actually got a thing from below as well is why we've seen him just hit that hero power every turn to make sure he can get a discounted thing from below. And despite his board being wiped, he's refilled it very juicily.
Yes, he has, and he's going to be in a good spot going forward because he's got so many options. He's got the Doppelgangs, he's halfway to the combo already. But in the meantime, he's going to be able to keep control of the board with the likes of the Devolve and the likes of Aya. As you may have noticed from the speed of the cast, by the way, something that people comment on when they play against Xixo for the first time is how fast he plays.
He's a man that knows what he wants.
And he wants to just play fast.
He's very assertive and says, I don't need to think about these plays. He's also a man who is very confident in his own ability, let's say.
He can be, yeah. He really can be.
I'm not saying that he's arrogant, but I'm saying that he knows that he is a fantastic player and he will well and truly say, I could go and win this event.
When he has his lineup built, his opinion is that he'll play the deck enough times that he's seen each situation enough times that he doesn't need to think about it on the day. Rightly or wrongly, and we've talked a lot about fatigue in a tournament of this length. Well, if you're playing as fast as Xixo because you've seen all the situations before, and you do know when to temper it, you know when to slow down and just play a slow turn, that could be a real benefit at the end of the day when everybody else is tired and you're like, oh, I only played 38 minutes Hearthstone and you played for 14 hours.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes the aggro decks, they can take just as long if those taunts do get in the way and you get into a position where you know you're not going to win the game, but you still play it out anyway and they can still take a good half an hour. Johnnystone is going to be able to use the Coda just to take out the Flame Tongue, which is important because it was getting a little bit out of control. There's still no evolve yet, though, for Xixo. But
nothing for Johnny apart from the Spike Steed at the moment, which could well just get devolved, which is why Johnny's not committing to sinking all of his mana into it. Apart from that, he's had no minions for a while. But if that gets devolved, he's going to be in a real spot of bother. So Xixo just taking a moment whether to... Just a moment. Do I trade this? Nah, face is the place.
And the thing is, if Johnnystone is to lose this game, or were to lose this game, it's where he goes from here. He's got Priest and Shaman remaining. It may be a case of him saying, okay, I'm going to have to take a Shaman and hope I win this mirror, because if he's got quite a slow Priest, he could be in a similar position that he's in right now, where he is really struggling to maintain any kind of board control.
That is, of course, if it is a mirror. If a man brings Priest, he might bring any sort of Shaman.
Might be an Echo Shaman. Shaman.
Wow. Nice work. So, Xixo uses that Devolve and the Bloodlust, and that's a whole bunch of win.
Yeah, a whole bunch of win indeed. That Devolve, as always, is just playing the factor of it can just remove a taunt in general, but if it's a Spike Ridge Steed, you even get even more value out of it. It's very juicy indeed. So, Xixo going 1-0 up with his Shaman. It's doing all of the work, and as I was previously discussing, Johnnystone now even needs to think about Priest or Shaman. Before we've seen them, which class would you like to think about taking here? Because naturally you go towards the Shaman surely.
I think so, yeah. I think the Priest... I would assume it's Silence Priest, but that's a pretty big step. It doesn't have to be by any stretch.
That's the face of a man who doesn't know what he's going to play. That worries me.
That worries you?
That face worries me thinking, I have a Control Shaman and a Control Priest. What on earth am I going to do against Evolve Shaman now?
I don't know. I think Johnny's going to put more prep in than that. In that I think he would know going into this tournament that Token Shaman is going to be a big thing. And if he hasn't got an answer for it, I mean, you know, I'd be very, very surprised.
You're saying Johnny be good?
Wow. I'm just going to leave this cast at some point.
Hope so. I'd love to solo cast, actually. It would make my day a lot better.
Yeah, mine.
And yours as well. Great, okay. But yeah, Xixo, confident, playing fast. Looks like he just wants to get this done and finish quickly, to be honest.
Finish Xixo by the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe. Really doing the business.
So, He obviously doesn't have to make a decision, and Johnny is going with the Priest, and it looks like Dragon Priest, as there is a fairly big giveaway dragon in his hand.
Yeah, Dragon Priest is something that's come and gone over the past few weeks. It is very solid. May struggle against Evolve Shaman, though, if Xixo can continue to do what he did in the previous game and just ramp up and gain too much momentum that Johnnystone can't answer with. And that's obviously what you can see here. Johnnystone throwing everything away to try and find some early game, and early game he has found. He could be able to stabilize. That's the important factor. If he can stabilize, things like Primordial Drake can make this game very winnable.
Also at this time, it's interesting to know if Xixo knows what he's up against. The top guys, we saw Tyler there, giving very little away, even about his opponent, for his opponent's sake as well. But word does start to sneak around the room about who's playing what, so you know, Xixo may know what he's up against here, which can alter your strategy, of course.
And now I was saying, like, I mean, is Control Priest, it's Dragon Priest, how well does it go up against Evolve Shaman? But actually, if you can get that turn 1 for a Priest, you're feeling in pretty good nick. He's got a Shadow of Pain if he wanted to use it as well, but he can follow up with just finding more value, which is important for Johnnystone. And Xixo is going to need, really, to probably find some sort of evolve to try and really gain some board control. There was a little bit of banter of like amazing and wows because Xixo's got the Bloodsail Corsair both turns in a row.
Interesting there that Johnny didn't go for full-on value. He could have taken the Draconian Operative, but he chose to take the Primordial Drake because it kills so much of the Shaman deck. So even though it's going to be less value in terms of card advantage in the short term, actually on turn 8 he'll just be able to blow up a whole load of things.
I like that Xixo's taking the Earth Elemental as well. He wants to get something big and chunky on the board that might be difficult for Johnnystone to deal with. Shadow of Death is something you need to be concerned about and something you definitely need to consider, though. But certainly this curve from Johnnystone is definitely one way you take down this aggro, and the fact he can follow up now with the Talon Priest as well, he's putting himself in a good position, Neil.
Yeah, when you can start to dominate the board with your minions as a Priest, it's just so hard for the enemy to remove them because of the constant healing. You've got a high enough health total, you can just ignore your own health, use it as a resource, heal up your own minions, and the Shaman just doesn't have that mass removal. If you get ahead of the Shaman, which is no easy feat with any deck, but if you do get ahead, you're in such a strong spot. And look at this curve in Johnny's hand now.
Oh, will Xixo be tempted to Maelstrom here? Yeah, I was going to say, it does deal with one of those minions as well as starting to put more presence on board for yourself. He really wants to use that Jade Lightning to be able to take down this Radiant Elemental, to be honest. The fact it's just sitting there, discounting spells as well as being an annoying body is just frustrating for sure.
Johnny's now going to get rid of that plan, though. Making sure he kills the correct minion. Well aware that one of the threats is just this lightning. Xixo still has to spend the mana. He still wants to kill things because he wants to start making these Jades bigger if he's going to have a chance. But it looks like Johnny's going to start to take advantage here.
I think as much as Johnny is taking the advantage right now, we've always got to remember that the possibility of Doppelgangster into Evolve can always just swing a game.
Right.
However, for Johnnystone, the fact he's got Dragonfire Potion in hand, for example, and just picked up a Maelstrom Portal as well, I mean, those two combined should be able to deal with any board that's just been thrown with 3 6-drops on it. You'd like to think.
We are seeing the power, though, of the Shaman deck. As soon as Johnny's killing stuff, then just next turn, every turn he's going into, he's behind on board. He finishes his turn, looks like he's done his job, all sorted out, and then the next turn he has to do it all over again. And wondering if we might see the Dragonfire Potion here, as obviously it doesn't affect his own dragon.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. He is spending all his turn dealing with what's on his opposition board and not able to build up his board necessarily that much, which just allows Xixo just to kind of keep reloading and saying, okay, well, if you've got these answers, you're going to run out of answers at some point.
And I'd actually miss the fact that the Maelstrom just is cleaner here. Anyway, this is obviously correct. No need to use that Dragonfire, just keep that ready for later. Okay.
Is it time?
Is it time?
Is it time to pull the trigger, Neil?
I don't know.
Doppelgangster into Flame Elemental into Evolve.
There is...
Get what you can on the board.
You can play the Stonehill and the Jade Lightning. Your Jades are getting decent. I think the next one's 3/3. Might actually be 4/4. And this 7 mana is nice and clean. And maybe the stuff you put down here clears up enough that you get to play your Doppelgangster Evolve onto a more empty-looking board.
Yeah,
They're not that great against Dragonfire.
Yeah, that's true. And it's leaving a dragon on the board as well. It means you are more subject to a Dragonfire potion that is just going to punish you because there's a dragon that's going to survive it.
Because it also, not only that, but also the little bits of chip damage to minions that Johnny has on the board would help finish off the healthy minions that come from the Evolve. But if
Here's
you
the
get
Evolve
control,
shot now.
Wow.
An option, I mean, I'm trying to think what's better actually here. Do you take the Evolve or the Devolve? Devolve is strong if you think there's going to be an Echo possibility in this deck. Something that we saw from Ostkaka earlier today. However, the Evolve might just mean you get more value than your opponent does.
And the Portal is also a consideration, although not a strong one, because we've already seen how good that is as well. Johnnystone this time using a lot of resources, though, to clear up. And now Xixo will be a lot more tempted than previously.
Xixo does get Devolve of his own. Maybe somewhat tempting here, just because there is a 2/5 that costs 2 mana. So taking that down to a 1 mana is going to be extremely better. And now he goes for it.
Now he's realised that worked out okay. Now he's going to do this. And he's going to want things with 6 health or more. Those things don't survive, although there is a charge minion there. 5 to the face, but these things aren't going to survive for long.
They're not great 6-drops. I mean, sometimes getting a charge is, of course, fantastic, but that is, the 2/3 is one of the worst 6-drops that you can get, of course. All dealt with very easily by the Dragonfire potion, then suddenly Xixo saying, okay, well, I need to go again. Thankfully, he does have tools to work with. Second Evolve in hand now as well. He can just start building up a little bit of a board, thanks to the Stonehill Defender providing that White Eyes. And he's seen 1 Dragonfire potion now, so he can be a little bit more comfortable in his thoughts.
He can. No need really to worry for now, at least, but he's definitely looking okay. It's so hard playing against the Priest, though, when you know that they've got a card from your deck and they haven't been playing it. Devolve must be high on his mind for cards he thinks he's going to see. Yeah,
and devolving this White Eye is fairly important. You don't want to allow them to get a Storm Guardian in their hand, and actually that just played perfectly for Johnnystone, the fact he could use the Shadow Word Pain as well. And slowly but surely, Xixo is running out of cards here, Neil.
He is. He does have the Hero Power, which is an ongoing card once a turn, especially with Evolve in your hand. But he is out of stuff. This Mana Tide will help fix that. Obviously, the Earth Elemental, the idea is to protect it, and it looks like protected it will, because he waited until the Devolve was played, because he knew there was a card from his deck in Johnny's hand, and he just waited, and now he's played this, and he can protect the Mana Tide.
Yeah, now he's hoping that there's no Shadow Word Death, for sure. Primordial Drake,
or Shadow Word Pain, obviously.
Yeah, the Primordial Drake does look pretty juicy here.
Right.
But it doesn't deal with those 2 really impactful minions that Xixo's just put on the board.
He's going to have to do it all again, though, because Johnny's on 25 health, which is pretty irritating from Xixo's point of view. Very solid looking from Johnny's, and if Johnny does get into any sort of trouble, we haven't seen a Shadow Visions yet. He can get Elise onto the board when he draws that Shadow Visions and try and draw the pack straight away.
It does happen quite often, actually, and it's disgusting when it does go off. It's one of my favourite combos since Unguro, to be honest. The fact that you are able to pull that pack and have 2 different packs to refill your hand is unreal value. But Xixo now may have to decide whether he wants to pull the trigger here. He could choose to evolve afterwards if he wants, but he may value the card draw instead. I think your board is in a good enough state that you don't need to go for the evolve.
Yeah, he agrees. Just keep drawing these cards, and there's the Shadow Vision. So now, if Johnnystone can spare the time, we will see Elise into Shadow Visions. He may just have to Visions because he's looking for that pain or that death, though.
Infinite Shadow Visions.
It doesn't quite work like Glyph. Nothing worth stealing for the potion. So he's going to have to just go for another one. Try again. All right, Dragonfire at least deals with the problem. It's not exactly what he wanted. Also gives Xixo the information that Dragonfire is not currently in Johnny's hand.
I guess you say it's not what he wanted, but he did just deal with the board.
He did?
I mean, I'd want that. Would you not want that?
Yeah, it was all right.
Just like say, I like 2 mana to find a board clear.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, 4
he didn't
mana.
get to develop his own board at the same time. So.
This is true.
But yeah, it's actually fine, I guess. This is why it's not that fine, because if you haven't got a board after you do it, the Shaman just does it all again. And that was basically where I was going with that.
Sometimes I like where you're going.
Do you? You never seem to show it. But, you know, sometimes you just don't notice what's in front of you.
That's true. And at the moment, Johnnystone in front of him is little to deal with this board. He's just going to have to do what he can to plop as much on the board as possible and hope that Xixo is going to have to trade. He won't be too worried about a Bloodlust at this position. Maybe just...
Yeah, he won't be worried about it yet, but he will be worried that Xixo can start to form a board that he will be worried about, if that makes any sense, which it probably does not, but maybe it does.
I guess the real worry for Johnnystone is he's starting to run out of resources himself.
Right.
The Manatide totem was actually a really big factor that Xixo was able to get back into this. The fact he was able to put that Manatide behind a big old Earth Elemental and get at least 3 cards from it was massive.
Xixo getting the Nat Pagel Dark Fisherman roll. That's quite amusing.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great.
But I'm easily amused, Dan. I'm easily amused. You amuse me. Okay.
And Xixo doing what he should be doing, really, and just trading efficiently, making sure he can't be punished by anything from Johnny.
And making sure that Johnny cannot get rid of the Dark Fisher as well.
Yep.
Just leaving it there as a, yeah, how are you going to get rid of this? But now he can. Johnny can indeed just Black Knight, which is a card that he put in his deck, away the Taunt Totem and then trade in the Fisherman if he wants to.
Okay, where could he get more value out of the Black Knight? I'm trying to think of any more taunts that could come down from Xixo. Actually, if Johnny had drawn that earlier, that would have been amazing onto the Earth Elemental, and that would have...
The fact he gets rid of the Dark Fisher is probably enough value in its own right.
Yeah, not giving the chance for another card to be drawn.
Right. Okay, Xixo has a 1 in 3 chance of getting spell damage. Does he even need spell damage here?
Does he need to evolve, is what I'm thinking. He got the spell damage, Neil.
Does he need to evolve? I think he may keep it. Let's see.
I guess you're in a good enough position that you can trade here, and then you're still waiting for that second Doppelgangster.
Yeah, I think you can push it 1 or 2 more turns because it doesn't look likely that you're going to lose your board. And if you are going to lose your board, you'd rather lose this board than the one that you've just spent an evolve on.
Ugh.
4/3, draw a card for 2 for 5 mana. It's not that bad. It's not that good.
Sounds like a card I'd design. Pretty bad one.
Not your thing, designing cards?
I'm not great at designing cards.
Okay.
Just talk about them instead. But I mean, there's no other option now for Johnnystone. I don't think he can afford to pass.
He can put the shield on one of the opposing minions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. If you feel like you could get the pack, open the pack, and then have a 4/6 Drake is a thing he can do.
He does. He's already used both operatives. I mean, yeah, okay. It seems a bit odd at first glance, but...
Now he can heal the opposing minions. That's it. Here, Xixo have some stuff.
Yeah, he's just trying to find his way back into it. And
There
well,
is the pack.
There you go then, Neil. I'm done.
Right, Gaskin has just left me to solo cast, which is what we requested some time ago. And now Johnny's able to get the most out of that Twilight Drake that he didn't play. Is that a Spirit Echo?
It is a Spirit Echo indeed. And we...
Not an Earth Spirit.
No.
Or whatever I called it earlier.
And there's Xixo's patience paying off as well. So everything coming in good for both players at the moment, actually. Johnnystone rewarded for his risky plays, being able to get Unguro's pack, but Xixo now has the option to just outright drop Doppelgangster, evolve after trading.
In fact, I think the only thing that hasn't come up so far is Millhouse. Pretty much come up every other Hearthstone card so far in this cast. And here we go, Xixo going to make his final board of stuff.
Ancient of Blossom, something that actually turns up quite often. Slithered Swarmer is going to do very little unless we see another Jade Claws drawn from Xixo. But that Scaled Nightmare is looking at pretty worrying, actually, for Johnnystone. This is a board that he cannot deal with. He hasn't got that second Dragonfire Potion that we saw him get earlier from Shadow Visions in hand either. So what are his options? Does he have to go for some sort of crazy
Lyra Dynamancy nonsense?
Lyra Dynamancer, I guess actually, yes, Spirit Echo is fine first because at least you get her back. Circle of Healing can just generate another spell for you.
Yep.
And it basically does nothing. It's just let's get a different card instead.
Now you can steal basically very little from the Shaman because he's played all of his good cards, but you know, you can draw some more Lyra stuff next turn. Not a lot he can do here. Deciding that not dying is better than having +2 to his beasts. oddly enough.
And there's Bloodlust just at the nick of time to finish this one off for Xixo as well, making it a 2-0 lead. It looked like Johnny was doing pretty well at stabilizing, being able to find 2 Dragonfire potions. He had a 3rd in his last 8 cards as well, but now Xixo in really good shape to possibly go 4-0 here. It is going to be Johnnystone left with just his priest, just his shaman, sorry, to try and reverse sweep this one.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying earlier. Sometimes if you're 2-0 up, it's because you have won the counter match. You've overturned the counter. And now, Johnny not in a terrible position because this is likely still a 50-50. And it is possible that Xixo doesn't enjoy the lineup the other way. For instance, he has Rogue, which Shaman probably goes through pretty well. So Johnny would only have to find a way to beat Mage if he can win this. He would have to find a way to win the favoured matchup as well, but still okay. But Xixo has a fairly good-looking hand here, although Johnny's hand is pretty good as well.
I mean, we saw emotes in the last game because Xixo had got the Bloodsail Corsair both games in a row, and now he's going to do it for a 3rd consecutive as well. But Johnny can at least reply with his own, or at least start with his own, if he would like. Firefly may be a better position for him. I mean,
we'll see the Fireflies first because the Bloodsail Corsair actually has an ability.
Yeah, it does. It has a battle cry.
You knew?
I did.
Nice.
It can take away Jade Claws, which is a very big possibility as well.
Right, so both these players will open up with the smaller stuff. Xixo's curve looks pretty spectacular. He may open with a Primal Fin. If he opens with a Primal Fin, what he's trying to do is to bait out the Jade Claws, to kill off the Primal Fin, and then he'll be able to play the Corsair, basically. That's how that works, and use the 1-1 and so on, blah, blah.
Still bait and switch. I mean, in the previous series that we saw with Crane, he had a hand that had a lot to deal with a good start from his opposition, but unfortunately his opposition didn't really have a good start either, so he was just sat with a whole bunch of nothing. However, for this game, we're seeing a good start for both players.
This play is much better against the Flame Tongue Totem. So this is why Xixo will go with this. Run the Primal Fin draw, because otherwise Flame Tongue Totem blow into your Primal Fin. These starts in Shaman Mirrors are often kind of brutal, but even though they've both drawn their minions for this, they haven't really drawn their Jade Claws. They haven't drawn their Flame Tongues. Those are the cards that make the starts very interesting. As it is, they're just developing board and having a bit of a nightmare trying to actually get something going.
And there's one of the first key difference makers. I mean, Maelstrom Portal is already there for Johnnystone, which can swing this matchup, but Evolve as well. Getting that down early in this mirror can be huge. As I've said before, think of it like a Mark of the Lotus or a Power of the Wild, just on average around +1/+1 stats. On average, of course, it depends on what one drops out on the ball lane. Yeah.
But that makes absolute sense to me, which is good, because it means it made sense to somebody.
It's good. I like it when I make sense to someone. It happens very rarely.
It's usually me.
But if I can make sense to a man of your age, then at least I know I'm doing a good job.
Or you will be in 20 years' time.
I'll know how it feels.
Okay, so still no buffs on either side, but Johnnystone is going to be able to have the first shot at drawing into those. Well, I suppose Xixo is because he's got a card to come, but you know what I mean. And Johnnystone does pick up that crucial Flame Tongue Totem here. The decks cancel each other out in such a weird way.
Yeah, right? Xixo was... He didn't know then. He was thinking, do I have to get rid of this? We've seen him play very fast so far in this series, and he did stall ever so slightly there, but...
He might have dropped the mouse.
Yeah, whoops. Oh, there we go. Can you drop a mouse?
I can drop anything.
Okay.
Bars.
You drop that thun. No, you can drop bars. Okay, great. Now I've seen everything. Now I've heard everything.
As we move swiftly on to the Hearthstone...
I don't think we should move on. I think everyone wants to hear you drop some bars, Neil.
It'll happen.
Okay, well, maybe one day.
Not today.
So Dirty Rat can be fantastic in this matchup because you can pull something significant with a Battle Cry that you can just deal with very comfortably. So he is opting just to pick that one up. But at the moment, Johnnystone is winning the kind of tempo race here, and it doesn't look like there's much of an answer for Xixo. He doesn't have a Maelstrom Portal to go along with that Devolve, which would be really important. That
Maelstrom Portal you're talking about is pretty much the only comeback mechanism, unless you can do the full-on combo, Doppelgangs to Evolve. That can give you enough big stuff to turn the tide. But other than that, the person who gets in front, especially with the Flame Tongue down, just tends to stay in front because of the overwhelming... Just the advantage you get from the choice. Oh, just kill all your things and just keep doing that, and the other guy can't respond.
So now with the Jade Lightning coming off the top as well. That may invite the Dirty Rat into Jade Lightning play. I mean, he's going to get one of the totems, so he is going to be rewarded here. No value from Primal Fin today. And you don't even need to Jade Lightning necessarily. You could actually just trade this off and be a little bit more patient. Wait to use that Jade Lightning on something more significant.
Yeah, and Johnny's now getting into a position where he might be able to deal with a Doppelgangster Evolve because he's got so much on the board. He may also just draw Bloodlust and win the game on the spot. So he's in a fantastic spot. And Xixo running out of stuff to come back with.
He does finally get the Maelstrom portal, though. Going to go for the Devolve first, probably into Hero Power and then Maelstrom. And actually, that Devolve has worked out fairly well. It's just going to leave 1 minion on board.
In doubt, roll the Wrath of Air Totem. And Johnny just sighs like, why today? Why can't this just be ladder?
That reminds me of like 4 months ago on ladder, though.
What, you won?
What, Wrath of Air Totem just being always rolled by Shaman. So it's nice to see it come back again.
Yeah, it's one of everyone's favourite cards. I'm sure you just made a lot of friends with that comment.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah?
Tweet me. Slide into those DMs. I'm happy.
Just talking a lot of air as usual. So Johnnystone repairing the damage here. He has just seen the portal, so he can just play these out and have a decent board again without necessarily having the Evolve in hand. And Xixo's hand is looking a little sad.
Very bleak indeed. He's not going to be enjoying this whatsoever. At least he can take out the Primal Fin totem so that there's not constant tokens being just thrown onto the board. He does get the Evolve, though, and hello, a little Pyrus has appeared.
Only a little one for now, but it will get bigger.
Oh, yeah, it will. I love it when Pyrus gets bigger.
See how big it's going to get as this progresses.
Well, it's not going to get bigger at all because Devolve comes out. So it just ruins everyone's hopes and dreams.
And probably saves our jobs.
And probably finishes this game off, to be honest.
It probably does. Johnnystone, again, has been in the ascendancy pretty much the whole time here. And it's just how you want to kill everything this turn. Just to get the maximum efficiency. And yeah, going to tidy up everything as has done the whole game. Feels like he's just been winning from the entire time, apart from when Xixo got that clear.
So we need either a second Maelstrom portal or a Doppelgangster for Xixo to get back into this game. Is he going to rip one of them? Jade Lightning is not it. It will allow him to put something on the board and get rid of one of these tokens if you would like. But it's not fantastic.
It's not, and Johnny again is just going to have draws to try and win the game. That's not it, though.
Here's a 1-mana 4/3, though.
The thing is, he's got 9 mana.
Oh, yeah.
So he's just going to waste 8 mana by virtue. If this was a 9 mana 4/3, it would still be the same turn.
9 mana 4/3 doesn't sound too great.
But it's the same thing.
I know. So now I feel less confident about a 4/3 for 1 mana. You've done your job now.
Good.
You've swayed me.
Swayed you. Are you going to make a 4/3? Oh, we did this discussion earlier about 4/3s for 4 mana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not great. Again, Xixo does still have the out, though. Does still have the possibility of drawing Maelstrom here.
He's
if
going
he was
to
then
need
get
it
Wrath of Air
soon.
as well. Okay.
No.
It's just a game of when can Johnnystone draw the Bloodlust, or is Xixo actually going to be able to draw anything to counter it? And there we go. That saves a good old 5 minutes of the possibility of Xixo coming back into the game, and we go into game number 4 then. So Johnny needs to get the reverse sweep with his Shaman. Xixo still has Mage and Rogue to play with. And you were saying, what were you saying about Rogue earlier? You were saying something about Rogue.
I haven't said anything about Rogue.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad I was
if it's Cavern Rogue, then obviously it's not a very good matchup for Xixo.
Correct.
If it is Miracle Rogue, it's a bit more interesting.
Yeah, it does get a little bit more interesting. Perhaps we'll see Xixo just queue up the Mage here straight off. Yep, I think that was going to make sense. Johnnystone, I think, does still have a relatively good chance here, though, if he's able to get out all these tokens nice and early. Really depends what kind of build we're going to see from Xixo. We saw a Discover Mage earlier in the previous series where we saw 2 Volcanic Potions, for example.
Right.
That would be absolutely detrimental to Johnnystone.
Yeah, see, the Xixo's ended up with a Flame Strike in his hand. He won't have wanted to keep that, but it might be okay. And Johnny's hand is basically appalling. He'll have to keep patches for a surprise 3 damage into a minion, probably on about turn 3, and doesn't draw anything at all to do.
Yeah, not quite the start that he had in the last turn in the mirror, so he's just going to have to pass and wait here, which will allow Xixo to take the initiative if he would like. Could just drop a 2/3 Medusa's Valet But, of course, Primordial Glyph, sometimes it's just too good not to play, Neil.
It is on curve sometimes. When you know what your game plan is, you're looking for AoE spells like this.
Ugh.
You okay?
I think I'm going to be sick. That's another Flame Strike.
Oh my goodness.
I worried Lothar then. He was like, hey,
Lothar's like, hang on, I'll get your bag. Yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
A second Flame Strike, though, is actually huge physics. So,
Right.
I mean, just being able to have a large amount of board clears against Evolved Shaman is always going to be handy.
Not that Johnny's actually managing to get any sort of board going on anyway. Important for Xixo that turn because now his curve is so well and truly fixed, he can get the secret down this time. And then he just gets to play 2 drops and actually gets the value out of the valet.
That'd be a good song. Value out of the valet. See, I can even like go for that as well.
That's that boy band you were talking about earlier.
No, that was Blazing Squad. That's a
Okay.
completely different matter. So this is the surprise 3 damage you were talking about, Neil. I'm not sure whether Xixo is actually going to be that surprised about when
Have
it
a look,
does
see how surprised he is. Oh my
Shock.
goodness, look at that look of shock.
The amount of emotion that went across that man's
Yeah,
face.
pretty sure he was terrified. Okay, so the valet's going to do the job. How's that song go again?
I can't remember. Forgotten already. It was a one-hit wonder.
One-hit wonder. All right, Xixo just tidying up the board.
And now it starts to get interesting for Johnnystone, though, because he does have... This is where we get into the point of, I've actually got things to play.
I was going to say, it gets more interesting when you can cast your
Yep.
cards. Yeah, it seems good at that point. Xixo's got so many options, though, because Johnny has stalled so hard at the start of this. And Xixo's basically had a free reign to do whatever he likes.
And as soon as Johnnystone does eventually, possibly, find some form of a board, at least Xixo does have a potential answer for it. Of course, Flame Strike won't be necessarily that good against Doppelgangster Evolve, for example, because they might just be above 4 health. It does happen quite often.
Yeah, they're pretty big minions. 6 drops in general have, you know, something like a 5/6 body. Let's go with that for the sake of argument. Which, of course, will be Flame Strike proof. Xixo here playing the long game, choosing to burn out the Fireball to make sure he survives. The decision there was a quick one, but there is the opportunity to hold on to it. Draw Alexstrasza, Pyroblast, Fireball, GG.
Yeah, that was the kind of thought process I was going down before I saw the Craze Worshipper come onto the board, and you just don't want to allow anything to be sat there that's just going to be a nuisance and chipping away at your life total. You're already down to 22, so you do have to be very careful. Yes, of course, you've got the Ice Block as well, but, I mean, you've got to make sure you calculate these risks, and despite the fact that Xixo does play very quickly, I am assured that he does actually calculate everything to good matter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it goes down. Xixo, these Flame Strikes aren't ideal. They're okay for this board, but they're going to be problematic, like you say, when the combo comes. But he needs some of his own card draw. He has nothing to do, so he needs to survive until he can pick up his own Arcane Intellect, for instance, at which point he can then just get a hand that's good enough to start to formulate a game plan. At the moment, his game plan is don't die until nice things happen to me.
And of course, using the Flame Strike that he actually has in his deck first, just to keep the randomness and the conspiracy theory behind of what card is in my hand that I found from Primordial Glyph, Neil.
Why are you whispering?
I don't know, I just thought it would be more entertaining.
Well, you make it more exciting.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, the second Flame Strike, obviously now Johnystone's going to be thinking, wow, what is that? If you'd used that 5-mana Flame Strike, then...
The thing that's interesting here, yeah, apart from that, Xixo went 3-face, where a fairly obvious-looking trade on board. He's made it clear he's trying to survive, and yet he is willing to let Johnnystone keep a 3/3 against the deck with devolves and stuff. So maybe Johnny will work out to be a little bit careful here, because he knows that Xixo knows there's a load of ways that this can get cleared up.
He knows that Xixo knows that he knows?
Yeah, which means there's a load of Flame Strike or other AoE in hand. I think he might work this out.
Well, now he's got another Glyph as well to start searching for even more answers. Another Pyroblast would be pretty big for him. Potion of Polymorph? I mean...
Sort of...
Wait! What does Potion of Polymorph do to a Doppelgangster? It turns it into a...
the Battle Cry will still go off.
Battle Cry still goes off, so there would... Yeah. But then would it turn it into... Okay, this is interesting. I don't know if it would turn it into 3 1/1s. I imagine the Battle Cry would go off first, so it would be a 1/1 plus 2 5/5s.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'll go with that. Pretend you know.
No, but it's genuinely an interesting thing that I've not come across, actually.
No, I haven't, but the Battle Cries still go off because it does the stuff after it comes into play.
Yeah.
And then it does evolve the things that are remaining, the 2/5/5 or the 2/5 drops and the 1.
So I guess you're taking away 1/6 drop at least. So that's at least beneficial.
Right. Yeah, it's something. It's a shame that like Aya has already gone.
Yeah, that would be a big value.
From Xixo's point of view, of course. But now we find out what it does to a Blood Cell Corsair, and what actually happens is it turns into a 1/1 sheep. Who'd have thought that would happen? It's exactly how that worked out.
This second Flame Strike is at least going to come in handy in the next turn. But it's after that. It's whether Johnnystone can still continue to refill his board. He's done very well to put continuous pressure onto Xixo here. And yeah, okay, I was going to say Doomsayer is a really good shout here. It stops any chance of a Doppelgangster Evolve coming into play and just bites him a little bit more time. Yeah,
he needs that time. Now, he does have that block. He is going to start drawing cards with the Acolyte, which could draw into Arcane Intellect, which could turn into more cards. Realistically, though, he also has another win condition, which is Alexstrasza himself. Not very often in this matchup you're going to be doing that because, yeah, because of this. Because the board just gets out of hand again too quickly the other way. And so that condition has just been snatched up as I was talking, basically. It's no longer a good option.
I mean, Xixo would have known that there was a risk of a devolve, and he was hoping that there wasn't one in the hand, but it's one of those things you just have to play with. And now Xixo in the position of probably going to have to start searching with Acolyte Ping.
Yeah, Acolyte Ping, find some cards. Needs to calculate if he can actually win the game if he goes his way anyway. And he's got nothing else to do, so he might as well. He does have the double block going on, so that's something in his favour. And now just play some stuff as a distraction. This game doesn't last more than 3 more turns, so no point playing for the long-term value here. You just got to get stuff onto the board.
Yeah, and he's played both glyphs. He's already used his Flame Strike as well, and the fact there's a Bloodlust there to push even more damage in a following turn if Xixo was able to kind of clear this down to a minimal amount. Puts Johnnystone in a really good position.
It really does. Johnny will be able to proc on 1. And he knows he's under no danger of dying this turn. And he's just got to work out all the combinations of Ice Block in hand plus Burn from Xixo that actually cost him the game. And there aren't many because 23 and you're going to kill your opponent in 2 turns is fine. One consideration is what to do about this Acolyte. You really don't want Xixo to ping it again.
Yeah, so I think you use your 5/2 to go face, then the 1/1 totem, and then your own face, and then you just kill the Acolyte with the 5/5.
Some people have been known to play Yogg-Saron in some decks.
In some decks, or just major decks?
In some major decks.
Yep, we've certainly seen it, and it is always a way out.
It's usually more in the secret builds.
Does Xixo strike you as that kind of player, honestly?
He will do what he thinks is right.
Okay.
I'm not the man to question what Xixo may or may not do. I am, because it's my job. But apart from that part.
You're a big fan of Xixo. I thought you were one of his biggest fans.
That's why it's not for me.
Oh, okay, so you're slightly biased, is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. Caster bias, heard here first. Volcanic Potion does allow Xixo to actually clear up this board and stay alive for now.
And now Johnny's hand is completely useless, but only in the short term. If Xixo can pull the other Fireball next turn, he just goes Fireball, Fireball, face, win the game. Johnnystone might need a Stonehill defender to get some healing if that happened.
He doesn't actually have an Ice Block up, does he?
Yes.
Xixo. He does? So. Did he just play one?
Yeah, he played his second one.
Okay, cool.
So that was his chance to get the required damage through. Now he's busy thinking how to survive one more turn, and this would be a way if not for that Bloodlust. We might see a Bloodlust here for 0 damage, but it would get rid of the block. But then Johnny will have nothing to actually win with, because Xixo can keep these 1/1s under control forever.
Has he used both J-Claws? I think there might be a chance of another J-Claws, potentially.
I mean, everything in his deck does damage.
He's used 2 J-Lightnings for sure, Johnnystone. I can guarantee that. We've definitely seen those.
I mean, Xixo can't even control the board, though. Johnny can just draw a minion, like another Doppelgangster, or even an Evolve. We'll put enough on the board, but Xixo is going to go down this route of, you know what, you actually can't proc this block and then hit me again. That, however, is massive for Johnny.
It is, so it does allow him to proc the second block and put something on the board. Of course, kills off the Medivh Valley as well, even though the Medivh Valley plus Pyroblast isn't quite enough.
So he will get this 1-1. Plus he'll draw an extra card. And Xixo, has he used both glyphs? I believe he has.
He has
used
both
natural
glyphs.
ice blocks. He's running out of things.
Yeah, Meteor is not going to do it. I mean, actually, I suppose Meteor, in a way, can, in theory, keep him alive from what he can see. But we can see the Jade Claws is there.
Yeah, Johnny hasn't played both Jade Claws, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for the confirmation.
I know you're interested.
I was interested, and now it's confirmed. And now Johnnystone can finish this one off. And actually, we'll be tying the series up 2-2. So it was looking pretty dire. And we were saying, can he sweep it? Can he make the reverse sweep? And there we have it. 2-2.
2 games each. Xixo going to have to play his Rogue, which could be pretty bad news for him.
So Rogue versus Shaman, the final matchup here. Then Xixo was looking in really good nick. I was thinking, yeah, okay, maybe we're going to see our first 3-0 on stream today. But no, Johnnystone had his own thoughts about that process. And now if it is Quest Rogue, then actually Johnnystone's going to be rubbing his hands together, saying this is a really good opportunity for me to potentially push through the damage here. And there it is. And there's also a little bit of a secret there.
Secret Rogue?
Yeah, secret Rogue, you know. That's something different, isn't it?
Mysterious.
Something edgy. No, he's a UK player.
Wow. All right. So, from France. Just throwing that out there.
So Johnnystone getting his own back onto Xixo earlier from drawing the Blood Sail. Corsair on turn 1 consecutively. Johnnystone gets it for a second time himself this series.
Xixo going to have a good matchup here. First things first, let's control the board. Playing Backstab, which isn't in a lot of the Rogue decks these days.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. I was about to say, I mean, we were talking about this being a good matchup for the Evolved Shaman, but stuff like Backstab, stuff like Tar Creeper can really change it, for sure.
Yeah, and not playing the Caverns below on turn 1. Something that people do way too often. It's something I like to harp on about because playing it on turn 1 is just not essential. You play it to complete a quest. You don't play it automatically on the first turn. And this is enabling him to fight for this board, which against all these little Shaman dudes is really important.
Yeah, those little Shaman dudes can be very pesky. That's for sure. No bounce back. Yeah, I liked it. There is one bounce back. There is a Youthful Brewmaster. So he could go at this with the South Sea deckhand if he would like. But of course, he needs to play Caverns Below first. So it's just a matter of damage control at the moment, trying to gain a little bit of board presence before he does start to really go for this.
Yeah, just no hurry to do it. I mean, not no hurry. You need to get on with it at some point. But as long as Johnny's not pressuring your health total, you've got a little bit of time. And this is good news for Xixo at the moment, although the extra card will be a nuisance for him.
Flamestone Titan is going to help him make short work of the Tar Creeper, that's for sure. But now we can see Xixo make the decision. It's probably going to be play the quest.
Okay.
Then what? South Sea deckhand into Brewmaster. You can run the deckhand into the Taunt Totem first as well, so you can get some value out of it.
Something he was trying to avoid doing because you don't want to rip out a 1-1 patches when you can rip out a 5-5 patches later. But sometimes the game doesn't let you do what you want exactly, and you have to innovate on the spot, even as a rogue.
It's not fair when rogues innovate, really, is it?
No, you have to be prepared if you're rogue.
But I think he's okay ripping out patches at the moment because he's just trying to regain as much board control as possible, not allowing this Shaman to kind of evolve out of control.
He does have the Glacial Shard for post-quest control.
Glacial Shard is something that's so difficult to play against because when it just freezes your board, bounces back, freezes your board, bounces back, you can just do nothing. You have to sit there. It's like playing against Freeze Mage, but worse sometimes.
It's going to be worse than playing against Freeze Mage.
Because you then just have a beatdown of constant 5-5s. It hurts, Neil.
Does it? Doesn't it at least end quickly, though?
Is that more painful? Is that worse? I don't know.
You want to slow death? Because it can be arranged.
Wow. Okay, need security ASAP. There's a second bounce back effect. It's not the ideal one, but it is something that he may be able to potentially work with in the future. But this turn is certainly a little bit sticky. May have to just use the Glacial Shard if he would like to try and keep this board presence. So probably Flame Elemental and Glacial Shard, maybe?
Yeah, it's one of the problems of playing against Shaman. Like, Johnny has presented a board of a 1-2, another 1-2, and a 0-2, And it is threatening. Doesn't look very threatening, it's 2 damage. But actually, as we can see with Bloodlust, with Flame Tongue Totems, it's actually a menace to society, especially with that Evolve.
So of course, Xixo could afford to play one of his South Sea deckhands if he would have liked, but I think having the Vanish in hand may be tempted just to keep them both for future endeavours.
He's also well, not deliberate. He's going to wait for this Vanish, so he knows that Johnny can't kill him now, and he can let Johnny put more stuff onto his board, effectively wasting a bit of mana because the Vanish will just stick it all back in hand, and if he can coordinate that with getting a deckhand down, maybe he can just get a little bit going on.
Yeah, I mean, if Johnnystone does overcommit here, then next turn Xixo can play deckhand, then coin out, well, go face, then coin out the Vanish, and then he's got 2 more deckhands in his hand that he can play to complete the quest the following turn.
Johnny finding just a way to not overcommit while still making sure damage goes in. And now he's going to end up with a full hand after the Vanish. Assuming the Vanish happens, that is a Shadow Step. That means that Xixo can complete at will next turn. He could do it this turn, but it would be... Yeah. No, he couldn't. That would be number 3.
I think you still prefer deckhand into Vanish, do you? Okay, no, he opts actually to go for the Shadow Step instead. Would rather complete the quest here and now, and then Vanish a little bit later.
Okay.
Potentially risky.
I mean, yeah, sometimes you just have to say, have you got it?
I mean, the fact that he's able to coin out the quest as well means that he has got 5/5s to work with, so... Saying, all right, well, if you've got Bloodlusts, you've got Bloodlusts.
Yeah, but has he got enough damage? He has not.
Nope.
So finding that way there.
So now is whether Johnnystone actually says, oh, this suddenly got progressively worse. This escalated quickly. I might have to be forced into going for an Evolve play here.
Yeah, he'll know that he is going to die sooner rather than later if he doesn't go for it. But he can't evolve into Vanish. It's just not fun.
That's true. But he doesn't know there's a Vanish there.
He doesn't. But I think he'll feel that with Primal Fin and various other bits and pieces, just making this massive wide board, you don't get Fan of Knives anymore in Rogue. And he may just feel that he's okay making another wide board and telling Xixo, you know, clear that lot up. If you haven't got Vanish, a win. If you have got Vanish, that's your whole turn. Johnny can afford a turn or two unless Xixo has a handful of charge minions and bounce. Which is getting there.
He's got potential 15 damage to face this turn if he wants it.
He can also choose to kill some of these minions because vanishing a Novice Engineer isn't much fun.
It's not, but it would be weird if he didn't vanish this turn.
No, but I mean, he can kill it first.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then vanish the deckhand.
I see what you mean now.
Rather than go face.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
Do you get me?
But I mean, you could just kill it with your dagger. You kill it with your dagger, 100% first. Is that what you meant?
It is what I
Okay, I'm glad.
But you kill other minions with your deckhand.
So Vanish most likely going to come out. And actually, this is the slowest we've seen Xixo play today. And I guess that's merit to how important this situation is for him. The fact he was 2-0 up and the potential of it being a reverse sweep really needs to be considering all his options. Doesn't want to be overkill and make a rash decision that might punish him.
So he definitely wants to get this Librarian back in hand. He definitely wants to kill this Novice Engineer. And then whatever else happens, happens. All right, this is it. He's establishing a board against a bunch of very small minions.
And it's not easy for Johnnystone to refill this board as well. Like, they're not minions that can just be dropped easily. It's pretty clunky.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, the Dark Librarian is almost unplayable at the moment. The rest of the hand is pretty grim, and Xixo is going to be able to freeze 1, maybe 2 if he wants. If there are that many menacing minions, but these minions are not that menacing.
So, I mean, is there a way that Johnnystone can still win this game? I guess it's build as big a board as possible. Hope that Xixo decides he wants to ignore it and set up for a 2-turn lethal, for example. Maybe just say, oh, I don't think he's got Bloodlust, and then hope that Bloodlust can finish off the game. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's going to be the hope from Johnnystone.
Yeah, he's definitely got to try and make a wide board, and then he's got to force Xixo into the trays. Xixo's not going to just randomly ignore it, but if you can find a way to force Xixo to either ignore it or not have enough to deal with, then maybe Johnny has a chance.
Swashbuckler will help generate some more cards and There's a devolve. We've seen so many devolves come into opposition classes today, actually. Not sure it's so apparent in this position. He can just use the Salty deckhand, bounce it back just to clear this board. Doesn't want to give Johnnystone even an inch here. Got to play it safely. Can't take any risks at this point. It's potential to go 4-0 up in the Swiss. That's a pretty big deal.
He knows Johnny's entire hand at this point. He knows the 2 minions for sure, and I suspect he knows about the Bloodlust, because that card, whatever it is, has sat there forever, and unless it's another Evolve, or possibly, I guess, a Doppelgangster. I think Johnny plays a Doppelgangster now, so I think Xixo knows exactly what's in Johnny's hand, which makes it so much easier to play this game when you get into that position.
Trying to set up for not quite a lethal next turn, actually. It's going to be 21-26 damage that he can push out next turn with a Shadow Step, but any other bounce back would allow him to finish this game off. A game that may somewhat be finished off already.
Yeah, Johnny can't even play this Librarian because he might discard his Bloodlust, and he doesn't want to discard the other minions because he might as well just play them, and he needs the J-Claws. So a bit of a nightmare for Johnnystone fans right now. He is still 3-0. Remember, these two players are 3-0.
So Johnnystone would, okay, let's say he goes 3-1, then looking likely in this situation. He can still feel in a relatively comfortable position to be able to progress to top 16, though, right?
Oh, I mean, if at the start of the day somebody says to you, you're going to start DreamHack 3-1, take or leave, you take. And you take your chance with there. You need to go another 4-1 from that point onwards, which is fine, right? 5 rounds, you're a top player. You can still afford to lose one. You don't feel too bad. Obviously, 4-0 is so much better, because then you've only got to go 3-2 to get into likely the top 16.
And there's a Vanish, so that will finish off the game. That is enough. You can bounce back that deckhand twice to finish it off. Xixo very happy, going to be 4-0 up here. It looked like he was going to be a little bit quicker after going 2-0 up. Johnnystone doing his best with his Evolved Shaman, but in the end, he is toppled by the Rogue. A Rogue that perhaps we thought may struggle against the Shaman, but the backstab actually really helped in this matchup.
Yeah, the backstab helped a lot. It allowed Xixo to get off to a slightly better start, and it bought him enough time to get to the big turn where he got off the double deckhand onto the table and still had enough to coin out the quest, remove enough of Johnny's stuff. The Bloodlust was ruined, and takes the series down 3-2.
Well, what a game. To be honest, I thought it was kind of like a Hitchcock movie. It started with a blast, and then it kind of went to a sleep mode for some time, right? Because it was the 2-0. It looked like a blowout, like a first blowout on stream in this DreamHack Summer. And then Johnny just climbed back, right? It was pretty close with this last match. If it wouldn't be for that Vanish, it would be really looking tough for Xixo.
Yeah, it was a nice little bit of a storytelling throughout the middle. I see what you mean. And then we had another bang at the end of Xixo saying, actually, I'm going to play Quest Rogue pretty well here.
With Swashbucklers and Backstabs, 2 cards you don't always see in Quest Rogue anymore.
So clearly a decision he made that he wanted to be able to play Quest Rogue against, for example, an aggressive lineup.
There's a few strategy against rogues, right? You either ban them or allow them to play, and then you're kind of trying to nail against, like, some techs against them directly, because they are weak to weapons, they're weak to direct damage, they're weak to charge minions, right? But the rogues can adapt as well, as you can just see, right? Xixo probably predicted that people might leave his rogue up, and then most likely will play aggro deck, so he can tune in his rogue to be more anti-aggro with the backstab, with the Tag Creeper, an example. So well played by him. He goes now 4-0 in the Swiss bracket, fourth round.
Yeah, 4 rounds in a row.
Makes sense when it's 4-0, right?
So that's how numbers work.
Yes, exactly. So you have to be good at math to be good at Hearthstone. And we have... Yes, yes, we do.
See you later.
We still have a secondary match, which will be Scintolo versus Diggin. And Diggin is currently 2-1 up. So we'll be jumping into that in just a few seconds. But Scintolo is nothing to, like, not a player that should just ignore. He's actually pretty decent at the game.
Yeah, he's still going for last call this year as well, trying to get enough points to get that 1 slot that goes to the World Championships. And he's putting in a lot of points, a lot of months. Racked up a lot of points last year, of course, as well. Got into last call then. And Diggin is a player that turns up from time to time, not only in global games, representing Gatekeepers, I believe, from Norway. And he is a player that turns up from time to time. He got to top 8 himself in HCT early last year. Player again, one of these players that you may not have heard of if you don't watch tons of Hearthstone, but he's a player that all these guys know.
And you will have an occasion right now to watch him because we're just jumping into the game, so not gonna take more time. Let's do it.
So, Diggin versus Scintillo.